did the Bush administration gain from September 11th? Answer, yes. Does that tell you anything? No. Every authoritarian system in the world gained from September 11th, and it was immediately predictable. I mean, I remember my first interviews with journalists a couple hours afterwards. The first question I was asked is, about this, and I said, look, every power system in the world is cheering. The Russians love it. It's giving them an excuse to increase their atrocities in Chechnya under the pretext that they're defending themselves from terror. The Chinese love it. They're going to step up their atrocities in Western China against the Uyghurs, claiming it's defense against terror. Indonesia loves it. They're going to go on a rampage in Aceh and massacre everyone because they have to defend themselves against terror. Ariel Sharon will, go wild in the occupied territories because they have to protect themselves from terror. And so it continues. In fact, just about every country, the more violent ones just extended their own violence, but the less violent ones, say like England or the United States or France, immediately imposed what they call protection against terrorism acts of one kind or another, which had almost nothing to do with terror, but a lot to do with disciplining their own populations. What are called the more democratic societies, instituted mechanisms of control of their population under the pretext of defending themselves against terror. And this was completely predictable. This happens even after an earthquake, things like this happen. Power systems will exploit it to expand their own power over their primary enemies, which are their domestic enemies, their own population. And if they happen to be carrying out violent repression, they'll extend it. So if the Bush administration gained from it, although true, it doesn't seem to tell you anything. It just says they're just one of the power systems in the world, so they gained from it. Did they plan it in any way or know anything about it? This seems to me extremely unlikely. For one thing, they would have been insane to try anything like that. First, if they had, it's almost certain that it would have leaked. It's a very porous system. Secrets are very hard to keep. So something would have leaked out, very likely. And if it had, they'd all have been before firing squads, and that'd be the end of the Republican Party forever. To take a chance on that, even if you could control what would, further, it was completely unpredictable what was going to happen. You couldn't predict that the plane would actually hit the World Trade Center. It happened that it did, but could easily have missed. So you could hardly control it. But what you could be almost certain of is that any hint of a plan would have leaked and would have just destroyed them. And to take a chance on something like that would be meaningless. Now, if you look at it, there's a big industry in the United States, on the left as well. You should see the email that I get. This huge internet industry from the left trying to demonstrate, and there's books coming out, bestsellers in France and so on, that this was all faked and it was planned by the Bush administration and so on. If you look at the evidence, anybody who knows anything about the sciences would instantly discount that evidence. There's plenty of coincidences and unexplained phenomena, why did this happen and why didn't that happen and so on. That's just the way complicated events are. So the evidence that's been produced, in my opinion, is essentially worthless. And the belief that it could have been done is so, has such low credibility that I don't really think it's serious. I should say that, I'm pretty isolated on this in the West. A large part of the left completely disagrees on this and has all kind of elaborate conspiracy theories and, about how it happened and why it happened and so on. But I think they're just, first of all, I think it's completely wrong, but also I think it's diverting people away from serious issues. Just It just doesn't make any, I mean, even if we're true, which is extremely unlikely, who cares? You know? I mean, it doesn't have any significance. But it's a little bit like the huge energy that's put out on trying to figure out who killed John F. Kennedy. I mean, yeah, who knows? And who cares? I mean, plenty of people get killed all the time. Why does it matter that one of them happened to be John F. Kennedy? If there was some reason to believe that there was a high-level conspiracy, it might be interesting. But the evidence against that is just overwhelming. And after that, it's just a matter, you know, if it happened to be a jealous husband or the mafia or someone else, what difference does it make? It's just taking energy away from serious issues onto the ones that don't matter. And I think the same is true here.